Hi, I'm Nicholas from TMR Now. I'm not afraid of colour, and I'm here to offer you some stretches through your hips and legs to mobilise your lower back and waist and help you feel better after a day sitting at the desk, or perhaps after a heavy bout of exercise where you're feeling kind of jelly legs and heavy thighed. We're going to do this series almost exclusively in kneeling. So if kneeling is not appropriate for you, please skip to a different video in the library or email to ask for some assistance. Right now we'll come up to both knees. I'm using a cushion because it's more comfortable and it's pretty to look at. And I'm going to take my left foot out in front so I'm in this kneeling setup. The most important thing when trying to stretch through your hip flexors is that you're actually not in a locked extended position, which means your pelvis is tilting back and your lower back is quite seemingly or visually arched. So let's come into more of an elongated position first. And from that point, you're going to, so the hips are under you, and just lean forward until you find some type of stretch through the front of your body, and then pull yourself back. Retilt, tuck, lengthen, choose the words that don't offend or trigger you, and hang forward into a nice opening for the front of the pelvis and come back. These types of stretches are fairly universal across many movement modalities, but it doesn't mean that they're correct for everyone. So if you're having any groin or pubic pain, make sure that we find an optimal solution and stop right away. Roll under and lean forward. You can stay here if you want, or just pop back. We're going in for the 5th rep, a little bit of a lean, and here we are. This is really where it begins. From here, I'm going to ask you to try and go into a deeper lunge, as deep as you can, keeping the body upright and reminding yourself to have that curve underneath you rather than hanging out, even though it feels great. And pull back. I'm going to get more cushion underneath me. So I find my elongation through the low back, and I come forward into a deeper, more open position and pull back. And I am actually exercising some restraint. I could lunge much more. I'm choosing not to because I want to find that maximum curve, that maximum connection with as much of my torso down to my knee as possible. When I go into this, it's a bit of an indulgence, which is fab, don't get me wrong, but it's a different feeling. 3 or 2 more, because I still can't count. Roll it under, find your tilt, find that enjoyable pressure, and then deep, deep, deep. Now I'm picking 5 just for the duration of this video, but you can do 10 or 15 or 62. Roll it under. And as you're doing that, it might be 62 on one side and 83 on the other, because rarely do we find complete symmetry in our body. So if you need more on one side, take the time to get there and that you enjoy the range while you're doing it. Adding into it some movement, find your tilt, find your half press, right arm up because my right leg is back, and I'm going to side bend. Simple mermaid feel, but you don't have to be too Joseph Pilates, arm glued to the head, lift, lift, lift. So in any way you want, hand behind the head perhaps for simplicity, side bend, maintaining that long lower back, come to neutral, and I'm going to pull up. I'm going to go back into it, following the same technique, a little side bend, return, a little side bend, return, and a little side bend. And I come out and I pull back. We're going to go again. 3 times, 3 by 3, until I change my mind. Now the whole point here of unlocking the flank and the side with this is to give space and to stretch out the fibers and the fascia and the muscles through the waist that we kind of compact during our working day. So one of the causes of discomfort and eventually pain or deformation is a lack of variety and variability in your postures through the day. Making sure you're adding squatting, extending, twisting, side bending, and a combination thereof through your day is a great way to safeguard against repetitive strain injury. Let's add on. I'm bound to forget this on the other side. So tuck, lunge, side bend, and now stay here, and let's get a little funky. So in your side bend, can also be done in neutral, circle your pelvis. Most of us lack the fine control to show restraint here, and there's going to be like a larger movement. Think of a drunk uncle at Christmas. Shout out Uncle Martin, love you. Now from here, I'm asking for a very restrained version inside your hip. So thinking of my thigh bone, I'm thinking of my thigh bone traveling up the leg and the pelvic socket kind of dancing around the top of it. Now if you would like an anatomy refresher, I am only too happy to discuss the long bone of the leg and how the acetabulum sits on top like a very jaunty top hat. Oh yeah, great. And come out of it. Just for fun, hang back. And do this with your foot. Flex. And point. Flex. And point. Flex. And point. Okay, come into your deep lunge. And that should feel quite different to where we started. And pulling back, and again. Feels good. This always feels good. I don't want to do it, but I love the feeling afterwards, and it's important, I think, to come back to videos like this that help us feel better for the whole day. I'm going to add a twist. Do we say videos? Someone, a peer of mine, said computer whiz the other day, and he said it made him feel dated. When I say video now, I feel dated. Anyway, across to bear. Okay, twist and lunge. Twist and lunge. Alrighty. Let's come back into here again. And while you're adding the ankle action in this forward position, think a little bit more about extending the chest out. Now, I'm moderately flexible, humble brag, but this is a lot of work. I could definitely I could make this grander and larger to look at, but I want you to try and be quite contained and just be in a position where the pointing and flexing at the ankle gives you something through here. You don't have to be in the splits. Okay. Let's just take a moment and pause before checking out the other side. Let's take the other leg forward. And we'll go a little faster now, just for the sake of getting to the next thing in your day. A little roll of the hip and release. Now I'm already feeling different to the other side, A, because we've stretched, but because my body's quite asymmetrical. And one thing that I'm noticing straight away is that this hip is kind of out and up to the side. Just do your best not to police and restrain too much, but level through the sitting bones, as if they're sitting on the same ledge. So I'm tilting and I'm releasing in my pelvis. This is quite a in your pants vibe. Depending on the camera angle and where you're at right now, you might not see a lot of action or movement, shall we say, but it's because it's in my pelvis. And now I lunge. And I pull back 5 times, please. I will definitely cock this series up. So for those of you who want complete symmetry, stop about now, go back to after I jibber jabber and re-watch on the other side. A couple more. Tilt and lunge. And you can start to go a little further as things start to release. And please find a comfortable way of doing this. If you have sensitive knees, of course, this might not be for you. So do what suits, but don't be too stubborn about it. Let's add a side bend. As I lunge, I mermaid. I've got my hand behind my head. You can use whatever you want. You can also have a couple of chairs nearby and help stabilize so that you can focus on the stretch and release work rather than losing your teeth. I'm going to stay here and up and over 5 times. And this again is where it will differ from the other side. And that's just a quirk of training with me, I'm afraid. I hope you don't mind. Like I said, rewind. I think what it does go to show that I'm a little bit of a space cadet. I do care about details, of course. Come out of it. Let's have a stretch. But it goes to show you that there are many ways to achieve your goal. And there's a saying in the industry, motion is lotion, which makes my skin cringe because of some industry connotations. But what we're saying is, really, we're just trying to feel better. So if you do that and stay in the stretch or come in and out of it each time, it's not going to change the outcome too much. Okay, so we're here. And what we're doing now is adding that in your pants, in your pelvis hip circle. We're looking for that long lower back versus the low back arch or booty pop. I'm going to place my hand here as a reminder to me. And I'll go the other way. I used to love stretching. It's about 20 years ago. And I come out, and again I have a stretch, and I'm just going to slide forward. And again, I flex and point my ankle half a dozen times. And that's not a magic counter stretch. I'm just distracting myself from the hip flexor stuff. Just, you know, I don't always want to eat iceberg lettuce. Sometimes I like rocket. But gosh, how good's crunchy iceberg? Okay, come back into the lunge, resettle, and rotation and lunge. Lunge, twist, return. Now, I don't mind how you do this. Lunge, twist, untwist, lunge, or flow, or any concoction. You go for it. What's important is that we're giving some information to the front of your hip. We're lifting the ribs away from the pelvis, and you're getting that kind of opening feeling. And the reason for my shady little marks is because in the Pilates and yoga lands, we often use the words release and stretch and open and tight. But we really actually don't really know what that means and how they elicit tightness or closedness elicits a performance deficit. So let's have a stretch and roll around a bit, huh? Last one. And here we go. Again, I'm going to move my heel forward and a bit of this. And again, hands on a chair, round back, stretching out. Just do your best, huh? A few more. Doesn't have to be your maximum split. You don't have to be at risk of shearing and tearing. You can just kind of enjoy some lower leg discomfort and call it a day. I definitely feel better in my low back and waist, and I hope you do too. Whether you do this at the end of the day or the end of smashing out a work task, or before doing an abdominal series or some back extension or integrated in a little stack that you're creating in TMI now, is totally up to you. But I hope you feel much better. Have a great day.